Groom's mother spotted disrupting son's wedding. She was horrified whenever she came into the room and witnessed that disgusting woman thrashing around all over the place with her wedding gown. She was shocked and surprised. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had already been putting up with all the never-ending nitpicking as well as the personal slurs for several months. The disturbing act she had caught her in had caused the bride's plans for her wedding to stop. What the heck horrible act had her soon-to-be mother-in-law done this time? All women hope they'll have a healthy and happy association with their potential mothers-in-law. Tracy Rhodes felt the same way. She had dated Rick, the love of her life, for a year whenever he had proposed to her at last. Naturally, she told him yes, then began to enthusiastically start the preparations for her wedding. All was going well as the days got closer to her wedding date. However, Tracy didn't know what the evil plans her mother-in-law had in mind. Obviously, Tracy, like a lot of little girls, had always dreamed about what her wedding gown would look like her whole life. It would be a day dedicated to her in any case, and she was determined for it all to be perfect. She fell in love with a specific gown that had a magnificent sheer back as well as lovely beads detailing it. Although it cost a great deal at $11,000, Tracy decided to splurge and order the dress from Galia Lahiav, a prominent and world-famous store that designed luxury bridal dresses. Certainly, she could never have foreseen the gown was going to be the cause for an event that eventually put a stop to the wedding. She and Rick decided to have a wedding that would be distinctive and unforgettable. They decided that as a replacement for getting married near home, they would like to go all out with a special destination wedding. Tracy excitedly told folks on Reddit, "We plan to have the ceremony in December in Colombia. Naturally, I am totally thrilled. It will be a special destination wedding, and I was quite pleased I'd talk Rick into doing it that way." However, whenever Rick's mom, Gina, found out, she was not pleased at all. Gina instantly told everyone she was not a happy camper about the plans for Rick and Tracy to have their wedding far, far from their home. She even made a big deal about the lack of English speakers in Colombia, then kept criticizing their decision. She objected to almost everything about the ceremony, from the cost of travel for guests to whether it would even be safe to go there. Though her objections might seem reasonable at first, Tracy was starting to believe her soon-to-be mother-in-law had more on her mind than just hating the plans for the ceremony. Tracy was starting to believe she would never be able to please her soon-to-be mother-in-law. She just knew Gina was going to have objections to the wedding ceremony plans, even if she didn't have a destination wedding in mind. Everyone was aware that the two of them didn't get along. Tracy admitted, "I knew from the start Gina didn't like me much. She acts polite to me and fakes being my friend." However, Tracy now knew all that was not merely a clash of personalities causing this bad behavior. Rick was actually the source of the problematic reason because her fiancé regarded his mom and Tracy as the two most important folks in his life. Tracy observed quite early in her relationship with Rick that he and his mom were strange. She said Gina would do odd things such as sitting on Rick's lap, or cutting up his food at dinner time, or tucking loose hair behind his ears. She continued, "Once I even witnessed her feeding her son in a public restaurant." For Tracy, she thought it was vital to determine the real problem between herself and Gina prior to getting married to Rick. She did not wish to find any horrid surprises right before the ceremony from her forthcoming mother-in-law. Therefore, Tracy requested that Rick talk to his mom. Luckily, it appeared to work. Gina stopped acting weird. Then, Tracy did her best to keep Gina out of the plans for the wedding. But she found out Gina was upset and complained to Rick regarding not being allowed to be included in the plans. She did it secretly, and soon it all came to a head. Tracy sat down with Rick to have a serious discussion. She wanted him to give his mom a firm talking to. She stressed that it is vital that there be a few boundaries set. That caused Rick to feel like he was in the middle of it all. Yet he realized something must be done, so Tracy wasn't upset any longer. In the end, he planned to be with her the rest of his life. Tracy said, "To Rick's credit, after I explained that Gina was doing things that were just nuts, it did not occur again. At least, she had not seen it happen." The time things blew up between Tracy and Rick began as a normal day. They'd asked Gina to come see their new house. It stood for a new chapter for their relationship, so they thought Gina would be happy and excited as well. But whenever Gina walked into the house, she started criticizing everything and directing all her comments mostly to Tracy. Whenever she came in the door, Gina immediately began to badmouth everything. She started off by reprimanding Tracy regarding her engagement ring. She stared and huffed and told her kids were dying so people like her could have a stone like that, and that those kids were starving and forced into it. She ranted about the ring being a totally too expensive item and that it was not necessary to spend that much money on one. Even though Tracy explained that it was not a real diamond but made of a much less expensive moissanite, wouldn't stop her rants. In place of feeling happiness for the upcoming union, Gina just kept criticizing Tracy. Once more, she was angered at the amount of money the couple had spent. Gina said their house was a wasteful exhibit of wealth which wasn't us, recalled Tracy. Once more, Tracy clarified that their home was actually a townhouse, which they'd bought for a great price. However, Gina kept on criticizing everything. After she attacked both the engagement ring as well as the house, Gina opted to start getting even more personal in her criticism. The deed she committed after that shocked Tracy to the core. In an exceptional show of self-control, Tracy stayed calm as Gina made a sarcastic comment regarding how much Tracy weighed. She told Tracy she was too fat and that if she didn't stop eating so much, she'd never fit into the wedding gown. Afterward, Gina continued to brag to Tracy regarding how much she was dieting, and it was doing great. She bragged that she was going to be slender and stylish when she came to the ceremony. Yet sadly, things didn't stop with those words. Tracy was profoundly offended by the comments coming from Gina's mouth. However, it was not the first instance of Gina stepping over the line. Actually, Gina purposely demeaned and berated Tracy in front of Rick. Notwithstanding her apparent disdain of Tracy, she acted like she was doing her best to stay in touch with Tracy. However, Tracy had continually thought that there had to be more to what was going on. Rick saw that this hatred between Tracy and his mom was getting worse, so he bravely attempted to disperse the situation. "Darlin', could you please assist me in setting up a bed in our spare bedroom?" Rick asked. Tracy was thankful to get away from her future mom-in-law and gladly left her alone. However, later on, she headed inside the master only to be shocked at what she saw Gina doing. Tracy strode into the room to utilize the master bathroom when she saw Gina performing a totally audacious act that made her lose her composure. Oh my God, there was Gina attempting to fit into Tracy's wedding gown. There stood my future mom-in-law attempting to pull my wedding gown on. However, she had gotten it stuck. Tracy informed followers of her Reddit account. I screamed at her, "What the hell?" and instantly began mumbling, "Oh my God, what the hell, God have mercy." Afterward, it seemed the whole thing kept getting worse. Tracy did not even have enough time to sort out what was transpiring regarding her lovely Galia Lahav wedding dress. She dashed over to Gina and demanded she instantly take it off. However, Gina was totally and wholly trapped. By then, my first worry was that Gina was destroying the sheer backing on the gown, said Tracy. Therefore, I ran to assist her in getting it off. But the unimaginable occurred. By the time she extradited Gina from the gown, it was too late since it had already been ruined. My attempts to save my dress were all for nothing, Tracy said. The sheer material on the back of my dress was totally destroyed. She busted out the zipper as well, and her foot marked up the dress's train. Tracy could not comprehend what had happened. Tracy just stood there and gaped in absolute disbelief. The magnificent dress was totally ruined. She could only cover her face and do all she could to keep from screaming. She had withstood so much horrible things from Gina, but this time it was totally the worst-case scenario. What the heck had Gina thought she was doing? Angry and trembling, Tracy demanded to know why Gina did it. If what had happened had caused her to be so angry, Gina's reply made it even worse. She demanded that Gina explain herself. Gina had really gone too far this time. She claimed she was merely attempting to find out if the gown would fit me, said Tracy. Since if the gown did, then of course it would fit Tracy as well, and if not, then Tracy had a lot of weight to lose. However, that reply was insane, since Tracy had clearly had her gown professionally fitted prior to purchasing it. So how was Rick going to react to his mom's horrid behavior? It turned out Rick and Tracy both were extremely alarmed at the entire event. Mainly since I didn't believe all Gina was doing was trying the gown on for the fun of it, as the dried flower bouquet which had been with it was missing too, Tracy said. I believe Gina wanted to pretend she was the one getting married, and that is so very wrong for lots of reasons. Then, regrettably, Gina's conduct only got even worse. You would assume that it would be totally reasonable that Gina pay to have the designer gown fixed, yet Tracy would soon get yet another kind of surprise. She has not even offered to cover any of the expenses to fix my gown, said Tracy. Even the train was ripped, she told Reddit. I don't even know the extent of the final repair costs until I talk to the dressmaker tomorrow. Yet still, Gina was not finished causing trouble. Whenever Tracy faced Gina and asked her to pay to fix the gown, she unbelievably attempted to blame Tracy. Gina claimed they should not have to pay so much for the gown at all. Meanwhile, instead of apologizing, Gina gave me a lecture on how much money I spent on the gown. She said that obviously the difficulty she had fitting into the gown was a signal for me to buy a dress that was less sensational and flashy. Those words were the straw that broke the camel's back for Tracy, and she had to get a plan put into action. Tracy once again went on Reddit, this time to get some legal advice. She questioned Reddit if it was reasonable and acceptable for her to sue her soon-to-be mom-in-law. She believed she was deserving of some kind of reimbursement since Gina had damaged the wedding gown. She said, I understand it is merely a gown, yet things are actually deeper than the gown, she penned. Numerous users urged Tracy to do so, however, a lot also had their own words to say regarding the horrid actions Gina had committed. In time, her Reddit post went viral, drawing tons of comments and responses. This might be a little revenge talking, but I'd personally inform her that she either pays for getting it repaired or she's no longer invited, someone wrote. Several voiced their revulsion at the event. One even asserted that the whole thing made them vomit. But did Tracy get any kind of justice? Plus, did Tracy have a happy wedding like she ought to have? After several weeks of doubt, Tracy went onto her Reddit account again. She had formally asked Rick to inform Gina she could no longer attend their wedding, but she found out Rick had chickened out and didn't do it. Though they'd canceled their wedding, the two of them are still a couple and do hope to make things work in the end. I do want to get married to Rick. However, as long as his mom is a part of the mix, I really do not think it's possible. Several weeks went by and Tracy decided to give her Reddit followers an update regarding Rick's mom. One encouraging thing she took from this whole time was Rick appeared to want to stay away from his mom as he'd promised her. Rick is keeping his promise, she told Reddit. He hadn't been in contact with his mom. Why do I believe him? Because I check on his social media accounts daily, though some events have additionally taken a bad turn. Tracy was additionally fast to reveal the way Gina had persisted in acting improperly in several ways. For instance, she keeps attempting to get in touch with Tracy. A few cases include some early AM missed phone calls, horrible notes stuffed under Tracy's door, along with some text messages. Me and Rick normally go out shopping Wednesdays, said Tracy. Lo and behold, there she was in the parking lot at 7 in the morning waiting to see us. We saw her walking back and forth, so we decided to stay in our car so she didn't see us.